Hey guys, so tonight I want to quickly talk about the lone wolf mentality and to give some background to why I want to talk about this. So, yesterday on my way to the gym, I ran into this guy I used to go to school with, university specifically. We were both majoring in computer engineering and we didn't really talk a lot, but I knew who he was. We took a couple courses together and he was pretty smart. He was a pretty smart dude. But back in my university days, I had very much a lone wolf mentality. I thought that everyone had it out for me. I thought that everyone was against me, that I didn't need anyone. And I just convinced myself of this. And it caused me to isolate myself. And this dude was pretty much the same way. Fast forward to today, which has been like what? I don't know how, 9 years, 10 years now since those days. I ran into him here in the city. And wow, okay, catching up, whatever. But he immediately drifted or turned the conversation into talking about how he cut off a lot of close people around him. He cut off his friends, his sister. And by friends, I mean people that we have mutual friends that he kept in touch with from our university days. And he labeled himself as antisocial. He was still exhibiting very much the traits of, let's say, quote unquote, lone wolf, of this trait that I don't need anyone, I'm out for myself, I'm just by myself out here. Now, it got me thinking, right? Because back then, I used to think the same way, but obviously it's been like 10 fucking years. So you learn, you continue to evolve, improve, and you learn that really you're not the center of the universe and people aren't thinking about you as much as you think. But somehow this guy still was stuck very much in that old mindset. And it struck me because I learned, and this is something that my dad used to say when I was growing up, I learned that in the world, truthfully, there's more good people than bad. But if you convince yourself that there are more bad people, that's exactly what you're going to find. And it's this whole thing of, if everyone around you is an asshole, then you're probably the asshole. And that whole situation that phrase came to mind because he was so convinced, and trust me, and to clarify, I've met him sparingly a few times since graduating, and obviously I've seen his socials and whatnot, so I'm judging based off of that and the interaction that I had with him yesterday. But because I went through that phase, I can still pick up on those signals when someone has their mind or their mind space is very negative in that sense. And it was funny because first of all, it's been years, first of all. And second, it's sad to see because I have learned that relationships, like I said, there's more good people in the world, and relationships can bring a lot of fulfillment to your life and will actually make your life a whole lot better. But if you go about the world thinking that everyone is your enemy just for the sake of making enemies, you're gonna have a pretty terrible life. And this is something that I wanted to share, especially for anyone who's still going through that phase, and I went through that phase for a few years actually. But over time, you realize that there are people who, let's say, that truly have good intentions. And I do believe that, although I believe that every relationship is a value exchange to a degree, but that doesn't mean that everyone wants to see you fail or everyone wants the worst for you. Sure, there are people who do, but not everyone. And it doesn't serve you to believe that everyone is trying to trip you up or hoping for you to fail, because really, you're going to miss out on opportunities of actually building relationships with people who can add to your life, who will bring value and who would be a net positive to your life. And truthfully, nowadays, after spending so much time around very successful people, different networking groups, different networking events, and just observing the different commonalities in how they think, especially in regards to other people and just teams and contributions, it's not a winning mindset to be a lone wolf or to take pride in being a lone wolf. Truthfully, I've seen that now, and I've experienced it for myself. You can accomplish a whole lot more and live a more fulfilling life if you have good people. That's the caveat. Good people around you. Obviously, it's up to you to vet them and make sure that they are adding to your life. But yeah, it was just sad to see, right? Because this whole interaction just left me thinking. I just saw a person who was still living in the past, he never moved beyond that. And I get it because, as an engineer, naturally, most engineers are introverted. They label themselves as antisocial, thinking that it's cool to be like an outcast or to not get along with many people or just know how to engage in social interactions. But that's really in the realities of the world. In the world itself, that is not a flex. It is not a flex to be antisocial. It is not a flex to be bad with people or to be making enemies for the sake of making enemies. So this is a very short takeaway, but I wanted to share that because I do believe that if you are going through that phase, I know you have to work to get out of it, especially because you've brainwashed yourself to the point where you think that's the case, but truly is not. And you have to start, first, you have to stop, actually, not start. You have to stop assuming intentions from people. That's something that I've learned. And just another quick story is that one time I did a favor for someone, all good. And when it came time where I was going through a rough patch and I needed some help, and I reached out to this person and he didn't reply to me. He left me on red and I took it personally. That was a few years ago. I later found out that the reason why he left me on red was because he was in a car accident and he couldn't physically reply. Now who's the asshole? And that just left me thinking, it's like, okay, this person, maybe he would have helped me. But I don't know because he was physically incapable of doing so. But it just made me realize that I shouldn't assume that someone, he only had it out for himself. I helped him, and now when it was, when I was the one asking for help, he basically left me hanging. That was not the case at all. And then obviously when he was able to, we caught up and I explained to him the situation, or basically let him know, and he followed up and everything's all good. But imagine if I had just convinced myself that that person deliberately ignored me or didn't want to help me, or he only wanted to take from me. I would have missed out, and we're friends to this day. I would have missed out on that relationship essentially. And that lesson, along with many others that I've learned in my journey, taught me that you never assume negative intentions. Always assume positive intent or a neutral intention. Don't default to thinking that everyone has it out for you, because that's just going to lead you to a terrible life. So that's the quick takeaway for today. Hope you got some value. Stay tuned for more videos, and as always, I'll catch you on the next one.